Everybody come on closer.
First, right? From 3 o'clock first.
it more?
Is there a microphone?
Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah. Maybe we should close the door.
Yeah. Close the door.
Maybe everything in motion will close it.
You can hear in the back there? Come on up on this side. Bring the chairs up. Everybody repeat. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna
Krishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine
Jai
Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Gaur Premanande. So, how's your tree? Silly question. So we're going to speak about the tree of life. Imagine life as a tree. Now, there's basically three sections to the tree. What are the three sections? What's the lowest section? The roots. Okay, the roots are the lowest section. What's next? A little higher up. Trunk. And then
Branches.
branches all together means like crown. The actual flourishing part of it. So picture life like that. And we can divide our life into three aspects using the tree as the analogy for life. So, what gives the most nourishment to the tree? The roots. Okay, so the roots are the foundation. And when the roots are deep, strong, and plentiful, then that's a sign of a healthy tree. But still, it needs what? Water, right? And also, what helps the water to bring strength to the tree? Soil, yeah. Sun. So you might say the sun, the soil, and the water. The water is absorbed by the roots through the soil, and then the sun, helps that process to go through all parts of the tree like that. So we might say that the first and most fundamental part of our life is our roots. What is the basis of our roots? Are we nourishing our roots? How strong is our roots? Are we getting the proper nourishment on our roots? So the roots are the fundamental part. So we might say that that is the hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So when we observe or we somehow evaluate the process of spiritual practice, we find throughout all the scriptures, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smarnam, Krishna. To hear, to chant, and to remember the glories of the Lord. This brings direct and what we say strong nourishment to the roots. So our spiritual roots are foundational in that. So we have to see how much watering we're actually giving to our roots. Are we putting a little water on? And somehow, even if the water is there, the soil should be, what we say, somewhat conducive to absorbing the water, so the roots get the nourishment like that. So that we might say the soil itself is our association. Our association. So hearing the glories of the Lord and speaking the glories of the Lord, remembering the glories of the Lord in association with other devotees. So this is our root foundation. And I think we all know this. And so we might see the basis of the strength of the tree comes from the nourishment the root gets. So I'll read a little. The roots of a tree are not, they're not what? They're not so much what? Visible. They're not so visible to others, although in association with others we are. But many of us live in our houses, and therefore we usually practice our hearing and chanting and remembering in our little house with our friends or family, not so much visible to so many people. We're charging $5 if you come in late. Goes to the Sunday feast. Should we lock the door? So think about this, because I want you to focus on this concept. If you understand this concept of the tree, you'll have no problem seeing how to develop your life. Not only your spiritual life, but your life in general. Everything. This concept was developed by one very senior devotee in our movement named Chandramauli Swami. He has studied this and he's teaching it. And so, based on his, what we say, understanding, I'm presenting this. And so, the roots of our personal relationships with others, how much we're hearing and chanting nicely, what is the quality of our association, how we're trying to increase the quality out of that association, how much time are we given to hearing and chanting. If we understand that's the basis of the nourishment, it should be a quality part of the time. But we might say that the roots are not, if you look at the tree, the biggest part of the tree is what? The crown. So the roots are actually, in one sense, pretty much smaller in proportion to the rest of the tree. So, develop your roots. What is that? Hearing and chanting, reading Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada said, I wrote these books for the devotees. Not that they're a good way to make money, so we make books so we can sell, so we can get money. No, that's not the idea. The money that we collect from the books is simply put back into making more books, and printing more books, so we can continue distributing transcendental knowledge. But if the devotees don't read the books and get an understanding of the books and learn how to use the knowledge in the books in their day-to-day life, and we're missing the great opportunity to build that root, the foundation, which is very fundamental to the rest of the tree's growth. So, water the roots through hearing, chanting, in association with devotees. Go to holy places. Visit the holy places such as Vrindavan, Navadvip. Take pilgrimages occasionally. Take your serious spiritual life seriously and put some quality time in nourishing those roots. So the roots are the foundation. Okay. And attending temple programs like that, association with devotees, reading sacred texts. These are all parts of the root tree. And then, of course, the next one is the trunk. Now, what is the trunk? The trunk is our physical, emotional, and social and mental well-being. So this we might say is a little bit in the category of what we do throughout the day. These fall in such as a healthy diet. And Prabhupada would sign every letter. Hope this meets you in the best of health. Signed, A.C. Bhakti-Vriksha Swami Srila Prabhupada. Your ever well wisher, A.C. Bhakti-Vriksha. So he always, and he talked about it like, keep good health. They say health is wealth. You spend wealth to get health. And you spend wealth to prevent health from going down. So wealth is secondary to health because it's actually real wealth to have good health. Little rhyme. So that wealth is keeping and good sleep. We should be able to sleep nicely. It says in Bhagavad Gita, one who doesn't eat too much, doesn't eat too little, doesn't sleep too much, doesn't sleep enough, cannot practice the yoga system properly. So balance your eating with a healthy diet. What else is part of health? Exercise. Right? You need exercise. Exercise is important. In today's society, we sit in front of computers, and we usually spend a lot of time in a type of sedentary lifestyle. So, when Prabhupada first came, of course, we know Prabhupada's health was always quite fragile even when he first came. He had 2 heart attacks on the boat coming over on the Jaladuta. And then in 1967, he had his 3rd heart attack, which was almost a fatal one. In fact, the astrologer said his time was up. But Prabhupada prayed to Krishna to somehow give him more time so he could spread his movement. Krishna gave him some more time. But Prabhupada was in the hospital getting medical treatment in 1967. The movement was like a year old. So there was hardly any foundation into the society. So one Jewish doctor was called in to examine Prabhupada in America. Stinson Beach, California. Prabhupada was living. And so after seeing Prabhupada, he turned to a few of his disciples. He says, your master, he prays too much. He needs to walk. He needs to get exercise. Prabhupada, when he heard that, he took it seriously. And after that, he started his morning walks. So every day he would take a walk early in the morning for about an hour and a half with devotees, and he would turn it into a philosophical discussion, and then of course he would go to the temple after that. So Prabhupada said my massage and my morning walk, he would get a massage for about an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, every day, gave me 10 more years of life. So we have to take care of this body. This body belongs to God. God has given this body, we call it my body, but it's not. Something that's given to you is coming from someone else. So we're responsible to take care of God's property in the form of keeping the body in maximum condition so we can perform our spiritual life nicely. It's important. So a healthy lifestyle. So this is foundation. And also, who do you associate? Your choices in life. What do you do? What is your occupation? Is that occupation conducive to watering the root of the tree? Or is it not? Is your association conducive to watering the root of the tree? Or is it working against the watering process? So our lifestyle choices, this is the words, lifestyle choices. How we live our life, which is mostly the day, how do we direct that, and how does that impinge, the word is impinge, or support our spiritual life? So that's important. That we have a certain lifestyle that will support our hearing and chanting. And that's the trunk. The trunk can be explained like that. We call it physical, mental. What's another point? What's another way to keep good mental attitude? What's a good? I mean, besides chanting, reading, and hearing, what do we need to do regularly? Communicate, but in particular, communication is important. Yeah, but there's different kinds of communications.
Offer gratitude.
Huh? With devotees, but
offer gratitude.
Have that mood of appreciation. Yeah. But you need to laugh. Laugh is healthy. People who don't laugh are usually mostly sick most of the time. If you laugh a lot, you'll stay healthy. It's good, healthy business to laugh. So, I mean, there's ways of creating laughter, but Krishna consciousness can also be used in a way to produce laughter. So it's healthy to laugh, like that. And it says it takes 63 muscles to frown and 13 muscles to smile. So it's harder not to laugh. I mean, some people laugh all the time, and usually they're pretty healthy. And Prabhupada would tell jokes and be very humorous. And Prabhupada said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with his devotees, not in general, but with his devotees, he was always joking. Always. When he was with his devotees in confidence, they were always cutting jokes. It's not like, wow, we have to be. Prabhu, I'm transcendental. Really? You are? It's hard to tell. Krishna consciousness is serious business. There's no question about that. But we have to learn how to laugh. You have to learn how to laugh at yourself. If you can learn to laugh at yourself, then you have actually mastered the quality of laughter. there's a story where Prabhupada in 1976, his body was quite emaciated. He was in London. And they would have to carry him on a palanquin up a flight of stairs. There would be 4 strong devotees, one on each part of the palanquin, carrying Prabhupada up the stairs. So one day, this was happening, and Prabhupada just started to laugh. And laugh, and laugh, and laugh. He was laughing, and the devotee didn't know what to think. So Prabhupada said, "Take me upstairs and I'll tell you." So he got upstairs, and they put him down. And as soon as they put him down, Prabhupada started to laugh again. And then finally, he quoted something in Bengali, and nobody understood it. And after he finished the quote, he started to laugh again. And then everybody's sitting there like, what is he saying? So then Prabhupada said in English, he said, all day long he eats only grasshoppers, but when he goes to pass stool, he rides on a white horse. And he started laughing. All day long he eats only grasshoppers, but when he goes to pass stool, he rides a white horse. And then he starts laughing. So the devotees were kind of like trying to laugh and thinking that, we got it. Just like you didn't get it either.
White horses is devotees.
No,
It's coming. Prabhupada was laughing at himself. He said, finally when they didn't get it, he said, I'm an old man, I'm a beggar, and when I have to go to sleep, 4 men have to carry me upstairs. And then he started laughing. He was laughing at himself. All day long he eats only grass. He's just an insignificant peasant. But when he does the basic things, he rides a white horse. Prabhupada was laughing at himself. So he could do that. And we have to learn not only to laugh, but laugh at yourself. Because most of us are ridiculous. Well, we don't think like that. We think, I'm okay. And everybody else should think I'm okay too. But we're ridiculous. Most of us. Why are we ridiculous? Because we think we're this body. That's the joke. As long as you think you're this body, that's the number 1 humor. And everything you do after that is foolish. So learning to laugh at yourself at different times is very healthy. And of course, there's also the Krishna conscious humor, which is the standard stuff. And we also like that. So humor is very healthy. It is really, really healthy to practice humor. So this lifestyle that we have should include health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, and what we say. There's one more left now. Let's see. There's 4 aspects. Physical? Okay. It also requires practicing cleanliness. Devotees in general are very clean. It says that normally, according to Vedic, we should take bath twice a day. But at least once in the morning. Like that. So bathing regularly, keeping the body clean is also part of good health. And that's also important. You keeping clean clothes like that. So basic hygiene, that's important. Not that, you smell bad, you just put a whole bunch of sprays on it so nobody And and you don't stay out too long because they don't last long. That doesn't work. I'm sorry if I... So the point is that you should keep general good hygiene. Like that. So the scriptures say twice a day is normal life. For those who live in the ashram, as actually it says 3 times a day. So bathing is important like that. What else is important? Of course, washing your hands. You know, a lot of people get diseases from just by touching your face or not touching something impure and then eating right after you do that. It goes on to the food, especially in the summertime. You know, it's easy to get sick in the summertime. The wintertime we think, oh, this is more likely to get sick, but in the wintertime germs are destroyed by the cold weather. So in the summertime it's more likely. So keep clean like that. And what else? Learn how to practice forgiveness. Should we talk about forgiveness?
Yeah.
How important is it? Forgiveness. Forgiveness is mentioned in all religious traditions as a very high quality. How many of you here have some background in Christianity? Whoa. How about Islam? Buddhist? And what's the one left? Judaism. Okay. So each of these 4 scriptures, or 4 traditions, speak about forgiveness. The one I know outside of the Vedic tradition is Christianity. Paul says to Christ, how many times should we forgive a discretion committed by another person? 7 times? He says that. Christ says 7 times 70. So what he's saying is there's no limit that one should learn how to forgive. Forgiveness is for the benefit of the forgiver, not the person who causes the what we call the offense or the transgression upon you. Because those who hold negativity towards others and don't know how to practice, their minds become heavy. And it's very hard to be happy if you don't learn how to forgive. I mean, people do things to you that are very difficult and sometimes causes great distress. But one way to mitigate or make it easy to learn how to forgive, and Prabhupada said this, is that whatever happens to you, that person or that incident that caused it is not the cause of what's happening to you. It's your karma, and that person or that situation is just delivering your karma. So by blaming the person, you're actually thinking in the wrong way. Like that. But still, there's the principle of justice, where if a person does make a mistake, they're responsible for what they do. So they also suffer. But still, from your side, you should think, oh, maybe I deserve it, or maybe I can learn something from it. So forgiveness it's one of the qualities of the rabbinical class. I was at a program in London a few years ago, and there was a large group of people, and we were talking about Vaishnava relationships, how to relate to other devotees. And at the end, when it was all over, one lady approached me. She said, I have to ask you a question, Maharaj. I couldn't ask it in public. She said, I have this problem. I'm angry with this other person, and I can't learn how to forgive. Can you help me? Well, I said, how long has it been going on? She said, 25 years. I mean, it does go on sometimes, for a long time in certain ways. I said, how are you able to live that long with that kind of negativity? Well, she couldn't respond. you have to understand that forgiveness is for your benefit. So by practicing that, there's a big relief. Now what you don't do is trust. You learn how to forgive, but you don't trust the situation that caused. In other words, if somebody did something negative or commit some offense to you or did something wrong, you may not trust that person again. And that's proper. Because trust may take time to rebuild. And if you're just allowing the trust to automatically come back as soon as the forgiveness is there, you may be open to getting another negative experience. So therefore you're careful not to create the trust so soon until you actually established that this person is worth trusting again after some time. Understand? Yeah. So forgiveness, yes. Trust. So that's the way to learn how to forgive and at the same time protect yourself from further, what we say, offenses like that. But a devotee is always forgiving. So by practicing that, we actually live a happy life. Those who hold negativity towards anything, their minds are never peaceful. And therefore, every time a situation occurs that reminds them of that situation, they go into this wrong mentality. And especially we find that when we have something we're holding against somebody, as soon as we sit down and chant japa, it starts to come. Because the japa is purifying our mind and it's bringing to the surface the negativities we need to deal with. So if we don't let go of those negativities when they appear and keep with them, then they'll keep coming back and becoming stronger and stronger each time. So forgiveness is actually a wonderful quality and allows us to go on in life happy. I was talking to one man who was very forgiving. And he was telling me, he said, my relatives, my family members, I tell them, forgive. And they get angry at me for me telling them to forgive. I hope any of you are not angry at me right now. Just in case. But he was telling me, they're becoming more angry at me when I'm explaining and trying to give them the understanding of forgiveness. So I told him, well, all you can say to them is, all right, don't forgive, but suffer. Because you're suffering by holding the negativity. And if there's justice, God says vengeance is mine. So if there's punishment needed for a transgressor, that comes by the laws of nature, or it comes by God. And if it's something severe, it may come under the laws of the state, such as someone who violates the laws, like someone who robs your house or causes you some physical harm. They may be punished by the state, but still you can forgive them. You can still. So forgiveness is part of our mental attitude, which helps us to go on in life and practice spiritual life. Forgive, but don't forget. Sometimes you say forgive and forget. That may come after some time. Any questions on that? Yes.
How does it work to forgive? What do you do,
Well, yeah. First of all, it has to come within you. But if the person who somehow or other has done something wrong, now first of all, they have to understand they've done something wrong. If they don't do something wrong, but you feel like they've done something wrong, then they're not going to say anything to apologize. Then you just have to forgive in your own mind or heart. But if they've done something wrong and they understood they have done something wrong, then it's required for them to offer some kind of apology or some kind of, something to make amends for whatever they've done. And you may wait for that, but at the same time you can forgive. But it comes from within you. You have to find it within your own heart to forgive someone. The thing is, if you don't forgive others, you can't expect others to forgive you for things that you do to others. We actually say it in a different way. If you don't forgive others, God will not forgive you. You can't expect to get what you don't give. We want everybody to be nice to me, but I'm not nice to you. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Whatever you put out, that's what you're going to get back. That's what you're going to get back. That's how life works. You ever find yourself in a situation where you're happy and everybody else looks happy? Because you're happy. And if you're not, if you're angry, you keep meeting angry people. Because you draw that energy towards you. If you're negative, you'll draw negative people towards you. If you're positive, you'll draw positive people. It's just whatever you put out, that's an energy you're throwing into the environment, and that attracts that same energy back towards you. So if you're forgiving, you'll also be forgiven. And we also make mistakes, but we don't think we do. Right? Okay? Yeah.
I have a question. What if you're the one administering the punishment? Say you're working for the state as a judge or a police officer, somebody that has to make daily decisions on making sure that people follow the rules. How do you know, I mean, aside from the stated law, that what you're doing is not gonna, cross the bounds?
Well, if you have that position, you're neutral. You can't be partial. If you're partial, you won't maintain that position. You have to act according to the law, and you have to administer the law in the proper way. So that's a qualification to get that position. So a person who's a judge doesn't hate the person he's punishing. He's just giving them what they deserve by giving them the law. He's neutral. The judge is meant to be neutral. The police officers are meant to be neutral, ideally. If they're not neutral, they're not qualified to do that. There was recently one judge. Now they have prisons. The prisons are owned by private organizations, and therefore it's a business. So it's good to have criminals come to your jail because you get good money from the state. So there was one judge. Everybody who was coming to him, he was just, "You're guilty." He was just increasing because he was getting kickback from that. And then finally he got caught and went to the same prison. So he became the good business that he was trying to create. So you can't cheat. If you cheat, you're not qualified to be in that position. So ideally, you have to work according to the law. So in the same way, punishment is by the law, and in the law of God, there is karma. Karma works in such a way as to give our reaction for the activities we perform. So that's God's law. It works under the influence of material nature. For a devotee, the punishment that we get when you're engaged in devotional service is not coming from karma, generally. It's coming from Krishna to somehow or other push you back towards where you should be. It's like a correction type of punishment. Or it's a purification punishment to help you go to a higher state of consciousness. But for the materialists, people who are engaged in material activities, they're under the influence of the material energy. And whatever they do, they're getting that direct from Maya, or karma. But devotees are different. At least to some degree. Some of us are marginal. We're getting a little bit of our past karma and a little Krishna's correction. When you become fully engaged in devotional service, then Krishna takes full control of your life And whatever happens to you is by way of Krishna's arrangement. Therefore, it's always good. But karma, but material karma is very cruel sometimes. So forgiveness. Anything else, Linda?
Regarding forgiveness, in some instances it might be easy to forgive a person, but depending on what the nature of that, what they did to you, and you say, I don't know, it seems to me very hard to just say I forgive. That there's a process that happens before you can actually forgive certain things. I can say I've forgiven you, and then it comes back and it bites me, and I'm sitting there going, I'm really still angry, and I didn't think I was angry at this person anymore. I thought I forgave.
You did?
I'm sorry?
You did? You didn't forgive.
So I didn't.
Yes.
But, so then, isn't there a process there that needs to happen before you can actually let go of the, whatever it is, the anger or the resentment?
Not always. Sometimes. Sometimes the process is that the person who creates this, you don't even know them, or they don't even think they did anything wrong. So how do you deal with that? Then you just have to practice forgiveness, carte blanche. Otherwise, how do you go on in life? Or you can justify what happens to you by saying that actually I deserve it, and therefore this person is just giving me a little bit of but again, you don't trust. You don't create trust automatically. Part of forgiveness is to be wary of a similar situation and not allow it to happen again by becoming a little less eager to give trust back. You protect yourself. But in some cases, there may be a process. But the process is for them, not for you. They have to take care of the process. All you have to do is forgive.
So that requires, I would think it requires some kind of spiritual life in order to do that. People, otherwise it can't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're not grounded in something that is, what we say, not subject to change according to situations, in other words, grounded in your spiritual life, you don't have anything to fall back on except your mind. And your mind will just create, will always go in circles how to deal with the situation. Therefore, we say, Krishna's mercy, I deserved it, that person's a fool. I mean, your kids do something wrong. Do you carry negativity towards your kids? No. You love them, so that the love is there makes it easier for forgiveness to manifest. But still, they make mistakes too. Yes, Himanshu.
Hare Krishna. In the third verse of Shikshastakam, Lord Chaitanya gives us some guiding principles in carrying out forgiveness. My question is, does one have to be somewhat quite advanced to apply that? Or is that something that even someone on the unified platform can apply?
Lord Chaitanya is talking about the process to practice. You have to practice it. The application comes through the process of bhakti. In other words, if you engage in devotional service, you're chanting, and you're cultivating these qualities along with the process of bhakti. And cultivation means something that is developing. It's not going to happen right away. So you practice. If you don't practice it, it won't manifest. But if you practice and learn the art, see, forgiveness is an art. We call it the art of forgiveness, or the art of tolerance, the art of humility, the art of respecting others. It's an art. Learn the art. But learning the art means practicing the art. Learning the art means hearing about it and learning how to practice. Because the qualities that you exhibit as your character and your personality are the fundamental part of your spiritual practice. Hare Krishna. Please have a seat. So we have to cultivate and not just expect these things to manifest simply because we want them. You practice, you actually see that the qualities that you're trying to develop are for it brings about a faster advancement in spiritual life. If you're proud, if you're intolerant, or if you're cultivating what we say, those qualities that are not conducive, and you're trying to chant Hare Krishna, and trying to read the books, you're not going to get anywhere. That's why he's saying, you can hear and chant the glories of the Lord, you can pour water on the root of the tree, but the root's not going to really absorb it unless the ground is fertile. That fertility is more or less those qualities, or the association we develop, we practice. Association means how to associate. How to association? How do we associate with other devotees? We associate in two ways. We learn from them and we serve them. And we also assist them in their own spiritual life. Three things. You associate to learn, you associate to serve, you associate to give. Serving is giving also, like that. So, the happiest people are those who are always thinking how to serve others. And the most miserable people are thinking, hey man, don't you know who I am? You forgot to say hello to me. But I'll let you go this time. Not next time. Expectations are the foundation of unhappiness. When you have expectations. I mean, a guru has expectations for his disciple. That's natural. But it's for the benefit of the disciple, not for the benefit of the guru. The parents have expectations from their children, benefit for the children, not for the parents. So there's loving expectations. But if you want expectations in order to bolster your false ego, then you'll never be able to understand how to benefit through relationships. Okay, question?
About expectations, what if you have too many expectations towards yourself? How to go about that?
Expectations are okay. She's asking if you have too many expectations towards yourself. The question is, what are your expectations? Are they within reason, or are they just too lofty? If you have high expectations of yourself, and then when you don't fulfill them, you fail, you fall short, you become morose, unhappy, and you start considering yourself to be useless, can't do anything. That's negative. So you should have expectations, but you should also understand that the success of fulfilling expectations is not only my trying, but it's Krishna's mercy. And if Krishna gives me the mercy I need, then I can come up to that standard. And it depends what your expectations are. If your expectation is to learn how to stay up all night so you can watch television, that's not a good expectation. So they have to be conducive to your well-being, spiritually and materially. Well, you want to be a kind person, but sometimes you're not. Okay. So you think, oh, I'm trying to be kind, but I blew it. So you think, all right, let me learn from that and keep practicing kindness. Kindness, you should practice kindness. You should practice humility. Practice tolerance. practice, forgiving. So it's an art that requires practice. But it goes along with our chanting and our association. It's not something that is, of itself. There's one story. How many of you were on my conference? Did you read the story about the lady who had high expectations? I just sent that one. She was expert at doing everything. And when she would ask someone else to do it and they couldn't do it, she would say, "It's so easy. I can't do it. It's so natural. What's wrong with you?" She would say it in a nice way, but she would always talk down to people who couldn't come up to her expectations. So this went on. This went on for some time, and then what happened was she had a stroke, and she went to the hospital, and she was bedridden, and she couldn't even pick up her beads to chant, and she was thinking, chanting is so easy, and now I can't even do it. So Krishna somehow arranged for her to see, okay, you are so intolerant with other person's shortcomings, but now you're in that position. So how do you feel? So you can apply that to yourself too. Don't be intolerant or unhappy with your own lack of abilities. Just keep trying. That's all. Okay? Because if you get negative about yourself, then you're not understanding that it's actually Krishna's mercy that makes things happen. And not our endeavor, yes, but Krishna's mercy is success. Our endeavor brings Krishna's mercy, but without Krishna's mercy, there's no success. Krishna makes something happen when he sees we're trying. That's why Krishna consciousness is for everybody. It's not a matter of qualifications, abilities, backgrounds, birth, anything. It's simply your sincerity. And if you're sincere, and Krishna sees that, he empowers you to do things and to make advancement. The only quality is sincerity. And sincerity is a broad principle that covers a lot of aspects. But if you're sincerely trying in every aspect of your, then Krishna will show you how to become successful. It may take time. Depends on whether you're a slow learner or a fast learner. But it happens. And some of us are slow learners. We keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Okay. There was another question? Yes.
My question is about the guru. What we must to do, like step by step, to find in our life like true guru? Can you give some recommendation? Maybe it's some practical recommendation, like step number one, this one, this one.
Yeah, well, I can give you the philosophical. Krishna says that when one is looking for me, I send them, when they are ready, I send them to my representative. So the first thing is you have to be eager to find Krishna. That's the step. If you're looking for Krishna, Krishna sends Guru to help you find Krishna. That's the first thing. And then, practically speaking, in order to choose who that person may be, one should regularly hear. Find someone who inspires you, read their books, if not, their tapes, their lectures, associate with their devotees, go to their classes, hear. And you may do that with a few people, until gradually you start to understand through the process of hearing that person who you want to surrender your life to. So a guru is that person you're willing to give your life to, who you know will take you back to Godhead. But it begins by hearing. But the hearing comes when we want Krishna. That's why you see some people get bogus gurus. I'm not saying in this God, but why? Because that's what they want. They want material happiness, and they want spiritual life too. So when you want material happiness and spiritual life, well, Krishna will send you a guru that'll give you like that. But you won't get spiritual life. You get something that looks like spiritual life. But even if you come to Krishna consciousness and you want material happiness, and you follow the process, after some time you think, oh, well, actually Krishna is much nicer than material happiness. And then you don't no longer look for material happiness. It may be a stage you go through. But to make it easy and fast, just, I want Krishna. I want to be Krishna's devotee. I want to serve Krishna. I want to hear about Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a question.
Thanks for the borscht.
You're welcome. I have a question, we all have to look forward to find Krishna and move forward to this direction. What if we don't really understand where we are going? For example, I enjoy serving other devotees and doing something for them, but I don't really connect it with Krishna as I don't understand. I don't even have an idea how it looks in the spiritual world, how everything looks and how everything works.
Are you chanting?
Yes, not that much as I'm supposed to. But
Are you associating with devotees?
yes.
Well, they say you should associate with, there's three kinds of people you can associate. Advanced, equal, and less. With advanced, you hear and offer personal service. With equals, you make friends and share Krishna consciousness. With those who are lesser, you help them by raising them up. So you should balance your association amongst these three. At least the first two. Not that you always associate with equals. You need to get association with advanced devotees. That will inspire you in your Krishna consciousness. Because advanced devotees are fixed in spiritual life, and they can help us to develop that same enthusiasm. Not simply by their words, but just simply by their association. Sadhusanga, sarva sastri hoy. Lavamatta sadhusanga, sarva siddhi hoy. By associating with great souls, one can purify their life. So we should seek out that association. If we can't seek it out personally, all the time, we should listen to others. But it's always good to have association. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, we associate with our mind. And that's the problem. Our mind will always go from one side to the other, This is nice, this is not nice. This is a nice lecture. Actually, the pizza was better. We'll go back and forth. You'll have pizza later. So, the thing is, if you associate with your mind, you're going to be unhappy. It's called manodharma, service to the mind. Whatever the mind says, you kind of you go in that direction. So you have to associate with the spiritual energy by gauging your mind in the right direction. Therefore, your intelligence needs to be focused on what to do and what not to do. Things to do, things to avoid. Do this, don't do this. Associate with devotees, don't associate with non-devotees. Eat Krishna prasadam, don't eat foods that are not offered to the Lord. Chant the holy names of the Lord, don't chant, can't get no satisfaction when I try. Rock and roll songs, what I'm saying. So, the point is, keep your mind in the right state. You have a choice at every second what you want to think about. Now, your choices are somewhat, what we say, influenced by your lifestyle and by your association. So your choices are not 100% healthy. But at least you know, I should be doing this, I should be avoiding this, I should be using my time in this way. So find that thing that works for you. How much time you're going to give to hearing and chanting, how much time you're going to give for your association, how much time you're going to take care of your own needs like that. Balance your life out nicely. And choose your association. We should want to dissociate with devotees who bring us up, not down. If someone's bringing you down, avoid it. Does that help a little? Did I answer your question?
It's actually like not that bad that you probably thought about it, but I just mean like when, like for example, I listen to kirtans or I listen to lectures, like I always think, oh, this person has such great qualities, you know.
Yeah.
So I think about how good this personality is.
Right.
But I'm not always connecting with Krishna. Like it's not always connected like that easy with God. And only that I think, oh no, I should think this person is from God. So God is so good, and He gave us that good person.
Well, what is that person doing? They're chanting the glories of the Lord, and they're speaking the glories of the Lord. So there's the connection. Even if you don't think about the connection in an obvious way, the connection is by what they're doing. It's automatic. But that's not good enough.
No, that's okay. I'm just wondering, like, does Krishna accept it as like as our time for Him? When like.
All right, then when you're alone, you pray to Krishna. You keep an altar with Krishna's picture. You can offer your obeisances. Krishna says 4 things. He says, remember me, serve me, offer your respects to me, and do some worship. So if we have an altar, we worship, we offer obeisances, we remember Krishna. These are all parts of it. Krishna says if you do these 4 things, that's perfect. But the question is how much are you doing it? And how enthusiastic you are to do it. We should be enthusiastic. Krishna is all attractive. The more you connect with Krishna, the more you see his all attractive nature. But if you don't give enough time to Krishna, you may not find him so all attractive. That's why if you read the books that describes Krishna's qualities, Krishna's forms, Krishna's names, Krishna's activities, these all bring us closer to Krishna. Thank you. Anything else? We were talking about the trunk. So the trunk is our lifestyle, and the last one is the crown. So put the water on the roof, hearing and chanting, associating with devotees, reading the books. Live a healthy lifestyle, get a balanced, not too much, not too little of the needs of the body. Laugh once in a while. And what else? Practice forgiveness, practice gratitude, practice this. Even if you don't feel, they say, somebody says, well, I don't feel like it, man. I'll be humble when I feel like it. Well, yeah, okay. Then you'll never be humble. You can't wait till feelings happen. You have to practice these things that you know are beneficial. feelings come and go. But the nature of the soul is that these qualities are innate and indigenous in the soul. So when you're actually practicing, you're bringing out what you want to be, because it's already inside of you. So practicing something you don't feel is not artificial. And to listen to your feelings is more artificial than not practicing what you want to be. Did you follow that? Yeah. So it's natural to be humble. It's natural to be tolerant. It's natural to give respect to others. It's natural. So you want to bring out that nature, because our conditioned nature right now is more prominent. So these are qualities of the spiritual nature. So you have to practice them. And the more you practice them, the easier they are to manifest them. So practice what you want to be. You want to remember Krishna all the time? Just chant the holy names all day. Whatever you emphasize, you become like that. You want to be a great preacher? Read till you get so full of the knowledge you got to tell somebody. Hey, I got to tell you something. I can't hold it in anymore. What's that? Oh, Krishna's so great. So, yeah, Prabhupada said preacher means reader. That's all he said. You want to be a preacher? Read. Just read. That's all. And even if you can't, if you're too shy to say anything else, look in the mirror and preach to that guy. I know you got a captive audience. So then you can practice preaching to yourself, or to your, to your family members or friends or somebody that's asleep. They can't walk away, right? So, read and then speak like that. So if you want to be a preacher, be a reader. If you want to remember Krishna all the time, just think of ways to remember Krishna. See his deity form, chant his holy names, hear his pastimes and qualities. So whatever you emphasize, you become like, that's all. Okay. So, and the last one is the crown. The crown is, I'll read the crown. Contributing to the lives of others. So, the water is going on the tree, the trunk is growing nicely, the branches and now the fruits are coming. So a tree that has a lot of fruits, where does the fruits go? The tree doesn't eat the fruit. The tree gives that fruit to others. So once we develop nice hearing and chanting and proper lifestyles, we can offer something, what we say, beneficial and helpful to others. And it could be a small thing, or it could be a big thing. But in any case, give back. Because the more you give, the more you want to give. That's the nature of giving. The nature of giving is you become addicted to it. And the nature of not giving is you become addicted to that too. But the more you give, the more you actually want to give. It becomes you just look for opportunities to serve others, to speak about Krishna consciousness, or to just do something for others. We should see each other as an object of service. Oh, how can I serve that person? What can I do for that person? How can I offer something? I mean, we have our personal needs, we take care of them. But then there should be a part of our life where we're always thinking what to do for others. And when doing things for others really means doing things for yourself. Because the nature of the self is to serve. And when we serve others, we're actually finding that happiness we're looking for. And the ultimate service is, of course, Krishna. But Krishna means Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And serving the non-devotees means somehow thinking how to give them an opportunity to become fortunate, giving them Krishna, like giving them a book, teaching them how to chant, offering some prasadam, inviting them to a program, like what Sri Guru Charana Padman and Raj Mohan, they opened their house to, to everyone. So they're thinking, we'll use our house to help bring Krishna consciousness into the lives of others. That's giving to others. That's an example. But you can do it on a little day. I have a god sister. Her name is Nidra. She lives in Denver. She's actually almost 70 years old. She gets up every day early. She dresses the deities. She does, and she also does the offering. She gets the Mahaprasadam from the offering. She puts it in little bags, and throughout the day when she meets people, she gives a little Mahaprasadam to someone. And you can see her at every Sunday feast giving it to the new people. So she's just thinking, what can I do to give Krishna Prasadam to others? And then she goes out and books, gives someone a book. So, healing and chanting, our roots, our foundation becomes strong. Our lifestyles support that. And then we have something to offer to Krishna and to others. And that's the perfect life. So I presented this to us to take a look. Where do you need to fill in? Where are we weak? Is it in the roots? Is it in the trunk? Is it in the crown? Do a little reflecting. Think to yourself, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but I'm not feeling that fulfillment. All right, so here's the tree of life. Look at it. This is a perfect model to see where you need. You might be hearing and chanting. You might also be trying to give it to others. But your lifestyle is not so good. You're not taking care of your house. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not choosing the right association. You're working too hard all day when you're tired, when you come home, and you can't really, relate to others. So you have to see, where do I need to, fill in to make that tree of life more nicer. Balance. Life is balance. And Prabhupada used to say that. Not too much, not too little. This is Krishna consciousness, the middle road. Anything? Any other questions or comments?
If you were to present this idea to say very, very newcomers in spiritual life, or people who are just learning about spiritual life, how would they apply? What would be the crown of their life? Because for us, it's clear what it means to work for others. What about the people who have no conception of service or Krishna consciousness as well?
The crown part. Everybody's doing something for others, right? So whether it's big or small, the point is do something. Sometimes we say, okay, this is your first time to this program. Next time you come, bring a friend. If everybody brings the friend, we double the size. And then the house is not big enough. Right? So there is a program like that. Bring a friend next time you come. You have a week to think, who can I bring? And so you can always do something for some. Or get some prasadam and give it, just like, sometimes we have a husband and wife, we're married, and the husband's not favorable, the wife's not favorable. But they always like to eat, so you give them some prasad, right? And that's giving to others. Anybody can do that. I carry mantra cards where I go. When I meet a new person, I give them a mantra card here. If you're feeling stressful, try chanting these names and make you feel peaceful. Get rid of your anxiety. Carry a book with you, carry mantra cards with you, carry prasadam with you, carry a smile. These are different ways to relate to others. Nowadays, if you just smile, it's really great preaching because not too many people are doing it. Smile, man, that hurts. So, kind of like balance your life out. So anybody can give something to others. You can say a kind word to somebody. I'll give you an example how preaching by using a kind word is powerful. Listen to this story. This is a true ISKCON story. Back in the old days, we weren't so tolerant of new people when they would come into the temple, unless they were, acting or dressing in a certain way. So one lady, the movement was new. We didn't have too many congregational people. So one lady came in, and she was kind of like decorated, she had her hair and she had all this war paint on, she had mini skirts, like that. So she came into the temple, and the devotees thinking, oh, this is not proper. You can't come before the deities like that. So they told her politely that, if you want to come, you shouldn't be dressed like that. It's not so nice to be in a religious place like that. But she was attached, so she came back again like that. So they got a little heavy with her. And finally, after 3 or 4 times, she just said, they don't want me. I'm not coming back anymore. So she decided not to come back. So just after that, Prabhupada was coming to the temple. And then she heard, oh, I'd like to meet their spiritual master. So she decided, I'm going to go see him. So Prabhupada had come. And he had just arrived. He sat down to give a lecture. She walks in. Same way. Same way. And Prabhupada looks at her. She's looking for a place to sit down. Prabhupada said, oh, thank you for coming. You look very nice today. That's what Prabhupada said in these words. She immediately sat down, listened to the whole lecture. Her heart was just completely melted. She went home that night. She was thinking, well, if it pleases the devotees, I'll just she wanted to take her hair down and just... She was touched by Prabhupada's kindness. He didn't look at her as a body. He was seeing the soul. Although she wasn't appearing the way people normally dress, he didn't make that distinction. He was seeing her as a spiritual being. And therefore he knew exactly what to say to make her feel comfortable and welcomed. And when she did that, she actually became very favorable. And she said, oh, if this pleases the devotees, then I'll do that. And nobody asked her after that. So even a word of kindness goes a long way. That's preaching. We want people to be kind to us, but it doesn't happen unless you're kind to others. What you give out, you get back. I'm kind to some people, but not everybody. But that doesn't work. Then some people will be kind to you and not everybody. The world works in such a way that the energy is so constituted that it's working exactly according to what we say, activity and consciousness. So consciousness is so powerful, it influences everything around. Even if you don't say anything, if you're happy, someone comes into your proximity, they can feel your happiness. That's how consciousness works. And someone, if you're not feeling happy and you're, they also pick up on that too. So whatever energies we put out, you can expect that's what you'll get back. We have our personalities. We shouldn't try to be something we're not, but we should try to somehow or other develop those qualities that are conducive to our spiritual practice. There's one picture where Prabhupada's like this. He's holding his danda. He just got sannyasa initiation. So one devotee said to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, you can hear it on the tape. It was at New Vrindavan. Prabhupada, I have this picture of you, and I show it to my friends and say, this is my spiritual master. And they say, oh, he looks so sad. And I say, yes, he is, because everyone is suffering birth, death, disease, and old age, and therefore he's sad. And Prabhupada said, let me see the picture. He handed it to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, that was one of my happiest moments. So, even if you're externally look kind of miserable, if you're happy inside, that's what counts. That's really what counts. Of course, if you can be, so we have our moods. But the important thing is the devotee is always trying to somehow or other be an instrument for others' advancement or something. Devotee is always kind. It's like in India, if you say thank you to somebody, they think, what's wrong with this guy? But in the West, if you don't say thank you to somebody, they'll think, what's wrong with this guy? Why when you say thank you to somebody in India, they don't like it? Why isn't that? Because they don't expect you to say thank you. They do it as an offering to you. And if you say thank you, that formalizes the relationship and it makes you farther apart from the person. So that's the culture in India, generally. You get the point? But here, if you don't do it, it's like, you just don't care about the person. So cultures are different. Cultures are different. Right? Those of you who grew up in India, it's like that. If you say thank you, they think, what are you saying thank you? I'm doing it as a service. Okay, anything else?
A little bit different question, not like what we're talking about, but still. I have a lot of friends in different countries who practice parts of Ashtanga Yoga. So we all the time have discussion about what's the highest level or target on this process. Can you give, it's like in yoga system. Can you give explanation? So
Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter. He explains the Ashtanga Yoga system. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Pranayama, Dharana, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. So the eightfold mystic system, known as the eightfold process like that, is the same as bhakti, but you can't practice it in this age because it's too difficult. The goal is the same, to focus your consciousness fully on the Supreme. The goal is the same, but the process is too difficult in this age. Yama, things to do, Niyama, things to avoid, asanas, that's Hatha Yoga. Pratyahara, proper lifestyle. Pranayama, doing breath control. Dhyana, meditating on the Lord within your heart. Dharana, increasing that meditation and concentration. And samadhi means full absorption in the Lord within your heart. Focusing your consciousness on the tip of the nose, so you don't see anything outside. So yogis do that. But in this age it's not possible. Therefore Krishna, although he mentions the system, he rejects it as impractical at this age. Therefore he says the Bhakti Yoga system is more easy and more conducive to this age.
Why is it impractical now?
Because a little mistake in the process and the whole thing is ruined. You have to do it exactly. And in order to do it, you should go to a sacred place, free from any outside influences. You have to sit in a certain direction. You have to learn how to, fast. There's a lot of austerities and a lot of what we say, there's a lot of things you have to have in place. So you can't practice it in the cities. It's just too much distraction. But in the cities you can practice bhakti because you can chant Hare Krishna anytime. So people practice asana yoga and they think that's yoga, but that's one of the 8 processes of Ashtanga yoga.
So it's target of any yoga process is find the God in your heart, correct?
Yeah. Find God. Well, that's find God in your heart or find God realization. There's 3 steps, 3 stages. Vadanti tat tadvad vidyat tadvad yad jnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti subjute. Brahman realization, when you realize that God is the all-pervading energy of the universe, the jnanis. The yogis realize Krishna within the heart. And the bhakti yogis realize Krishna as the supreme personality of God, the source of all existence. So these are 3 aspects of God realization. Each one progressively higher, but each one complete in themselves. But the highest is personal. So unless we come, because in the personal relationship there is service. And only through service can love develop. Love cannot develop unless there's service.
Thank you for the answer.
So Krishna explains that in the 6th chapter. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes.
So when performing some kind of service unto others or trying to chant some number of rounds of japa or performing your duties, knowing all the necessary information for what to do and how to do it, how can we refrain from doing it mechanically instead of with
When you know who it's
the
for.
heart?
Mechanical means you don't know why you're doing it, you're just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's for Krishna. You offer that as an offering to Krishna. And when you do it, Krishna accepts, and that's bhakti. It's not mechanical. If you're just doing it and thinking, what is it? Well, my father did it, his father did it, and his father did it. All right, I'll do it. And I'll teach my kids to do it also. Why? Because everybody's doing it. You don't think about 100 monkeys? Like 100 monkeys? One monkey teaches another monkey how to do something, and another monkey teaches the second monkey. And pretty soon when it gets to the 100th monkey, he's doing it because everybody else is doing it. He doesn't even ask why he's doing it. So he asks, the question is, why am I doing this? So who is it for? I'm doing it to purify my heart. I'm doing it to realize Krishna. I'm doing it to please Krishna. There's a reason behind it. It's not just mechanical. If you forget the reason, then it becomes mechanical. Why do you go to work? Because it's nice to get out of the house. Well, obviously that's not the reason. You can get out of the house without going to work. So you go to work because there's a reason. So that, whatever we do, there should be a reason behind what we're doing. or meaning, and it has to have some value in our life. So we're doing this in order to purify our heart. Mechanical means I forgot. That's it. I forget why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I just do it. It becomes a routine.
Thank you.
Yes, Vishwadeva?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is like when we do seva, or sometimes we need Krishna's mercy. Something we need help from Guru and Krishna. So how we should ask for spiritual master, or should ask Prabhupada, or Radharani, or Gauranika, whom to ask for forgiveness or for help? We need help a lot.
You can ask all of them.
But from there to begin, like Shiksha Guru.
Start with your spiritual master. And then go to Prabhupada, and then go to Mahaprabhu. Start with your spiritual master. Your spiritual master is with you all the time. All you have to do is open your heart, and you'll find he's there. Everything we need is here. We just have to become aware of it. So it starts with the spiritual master. And sometimes it ends there. It's all it's needed. The spiritual master carries the weight of Krishna with him, so he's powerful. That's why Guru means what? Heavy. Heavy with what? Knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of Krishna. Knowledge of Bhakti. It was Murari Gupta. He was cooking. He wanted to cook rice for Lord Chaitanya. So he was so enthusiastic that he kept cooking and just offering more and more. And he was putting a lot of ghee on it. And he was saying, "My dear Lord, eat, 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 eat." So the next day, Lord Chaitanya came to Murari Gupta. Murari's a physician. He said, "Murari, I'm sick. I got this stomach ailment." He said, "Why?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yesterday you made me eat so much, now I'm sick." So the Lord was actually receiving his offerings, although the Lord wasn't personally present. So the Lord is there receiving it. Our offerings, or the spiritual masters there receiving our offerings if we're sincerely offering. Our prayers, our questions, it's all there. Spiritual life doesn't depend on physical proximity, physical association. It's a heart-to-heart connection. That's why Prabhupada would say, "I'm never separated from my spiritual master, because I'm always following his instructions. Therefore, we're always together." Yes, question?
Yeah.
You got a question?
Yeah. Thank you, Krishna Maharaj. It's a question about the Guru. How do we know that a Guru that was sent to us or that we met, how do we know he is a genuine and exalted? I mean, he might sound good, we might like everything he says, but how do we know he doesn't have an arhat in his heart? How do we know he will lead us to Krishna? And the most important, how do we know if he's going to reach Krishna himself?
Well, you can't know everything, but you could know enough to understand whether the spiritual master is qualified. That's what you really know. Is he qualified to give you Krishna? That you can find out by association, by hearing, by asking others. So it's a process of taking some time. It may not happen on the first time, but if you get a little attraction, then you can increase that by continuing to hear, ask questions. So But you can't know whether he's going to go back to Krishna or not. That's up to Krishna. Even he doesn't know sometimes. Because Krishna may want him to stay in the material world and do this work life after life. And he's willing to do that. So, you can know what you need to know.
So we're taking risks every time, well not every time, but whenever we accept or we're ready to accept a spiritual master.
But here, when you're convinced through the process of hearing, obviously you haven't heard enough. So you have to keep hearing until you become convinced. Spiritual sound vibration goes in the ears, but it goes to the soul, to the heart, to the soul. When that sound vibration goes to the soul, your life starts to change. If your life is not changing by hearing, then either the person you're hearing for is not qualified, or you're not processing the hearing in the right way. But if there's some change, then you know this person is qualified, and you're hearing properly. So Prabhupada said, continue to hear until you become convinced. And ask questions. Not just hear. If you have any doubts, questions, don't, in verse 434, it says, this verse is spoken by Krishna, it says, what is the first one? Tadvidi Pratipatena. Approach a bona fide spiritual master, render service, and inquire submissively. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge. Why? Because he has seen the truth. So that's how you approach a spiritual master. 3 things. Submission, inquiry, service. Then you can start to understand. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada says, blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So, don't follow blindly and don't ask me, things that have nothing to do with your, spiritual life. These things are rejected as to being, useless. So, blind following means, well, that person's following, therefore I'm going to follow. Okay, you might learn something, but still you have to be convinced yourself. If you're not convinced yourself, later on in life, something may come up in your life to disturb your faith, and then where are you? So therefore one has to be convinced. You may take help from others, but still you're the final decision. Birds fly in a flock, and they get help from each other, but each bird has to fly their own. It's not like a bird just going to sit there and the rest of the birds are going to carry it. They get help from the association, but each bird is making an effort, which helps themselves and helps others. Okay, does that help? Yes.
This question is gonna connect to the previous question.
Mm-hmm.
First, what does it mean when for the first time you see Guru, and when you talk for the first time you talk to the Guru and the tears coming down? Does it mean you feel you kind of have that inner sensation, this is my Guru, or you just purify your heart and clean your heart in that moment?
Could be both. Could be either one. It might be purification of the heart. It probably is. It is purification of the heart. But whether that's your spiritual master or not, that's another. So we have to be convinced by knowledge, not by emotions. Can change. Emotions do change. Emotions are good only when they go through the process of bhakti. Contains 3 stages. The first stage is practiced with knowledge. And as knowledge develops, devotion develops. The second stage is bhakti and knowledge. First stage, knowledge. Second stage, bhakti and knowledge. The third stage, just bhakti. Where knowledge has already been imbibed, then there's no question of knowledge anymore. The gopis are the example. They just love Krishna because he's Krishna. They don't care who he is, as long because they just love him because of who he is. That's all. So that's the highest form. So when knowledge, when love goes way beyond knowledge, that's pure love. But to get there, you have to go through the stage of knowledge. Thank you. Nice question. Anything else? Yes. Thank you.
I have one more question about chanting. Can you give like some recommendation again? Maybe I could explain the problem. When start the chanting, it's very hard to concentrate. You hear, for example, sound. You try to remind, for example, deity, and when you in this concentration, you have like a 5 or 7, 8, like depends different days, different pictures in your head. It's like movie. So how stop all this movie and concentrate just chanting?
Chanting means what?
Repeat holy name
And do what?
and remember the God, the Krishna.
You skip one stage. Chant and
Hearing. No. Yeah, but still, if you hearing can still in your head have like a few different movie. How it?
Just keep hearing. Someone asked, Prabhupada, when I chant, I see these lights. Prabhupada said, just keep chanting, it'll go. Just keep hearing. That's all. The process is to hear. And when hearing becomes concentrated, that's meditation.
So it's this means like it's not enough concentration. We can concentrate.
Don't put pictures in your mind. Just focus on the hearing. That's all. If pictures appear in your mind, if they're spiritual pictures, they'll come automatically. You don't stick them in your mind. You may look at a picture externally, but don't try to visualize anything. Just hear. Just hear. The process is to hear. And you see, Krishna's name is Krishna. When you're hearing, you're actually associating with Krishna through sound. So as that association becomes more concentrated, or the hearing becomes more concentrated, the association is felt. Just like if there's a fire a distance away, you can see it, you may not feel the heat, but the closer you get, the warmer you get. So the more concentrated our chanting is, the more Krishna is going to reveal his name, his form, his qualities, pastimes. We're going to start to feel peaceful, we're going to start to feel happy, we're going to start to free ourselves from suffering. These are the effects of chanting. You don't have to do anything else, it happens automatically. All you have to do is hear. Practice hearing.
Thank you.
And that's hard.
I know.
So I'll give you a technique. When you chant, listen to the first Hare. Hare Krishna. If you listen to the first Hare on each mantra, you immediately connect easily with the rest of the mantra. So it's a kind of a technique that helps you to increase the hearing. Listen to the first Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
That's perfect. And don't worry about ecstasy, that's up to Krishna. He'll give you the ecstasy when he wants. Just try to hear, that's it. You can't access ecstasy by your endeavors. That's up to him. Does that help?
Probably. Try it.
Guarantee it works. It works. Just practice the hearing process. And whatever it takes to hear. You can practice hearing in the day-to-day life. When we talk to people, when we relate to people, tune in to people when you're talking to them. And you actually start to go deeper into that person's words and mood. When you learn how to hear, then it becomes easier when you're chanting also. We generally don't hear because our minds are going crash. Go so fast we crash. You know, the mind is just like going a mile a minute. So just you want to stop all that through the hearing process. If you hear one name perfectly, you can be free from all sinful reactions you've ever committed in any lifetime. That's how powerful the name is. Just hear once perfectly. So, hearing is a process. Practice hearing. It's very powerful. Okay. Did we reach the end? No more questions? Okay.
For tomorrow.
Huh?
Next one is for tomorrow. Next question.
Yeah, we probably can ask all night, so we just need to stop us.
You can send an email to American Airlines. 'Cause that's Thank you.
Thank you.